Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rural Reflections Call and Dave podcast. This podcast is hosted by Dave Nelson in Carrington, North Dakota, and me, Grant Nelson, here at the studios of Thief River Falls Radio. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning.
You know, there's nothing, if you're going to have the best part of the day for your voice, this is it. We're doing this bright and early on a Sunday morning when your voice is about as low as it's possibly going to get. So this I always say this is the good time as far as like how it's going to sound.
Well, it's a good time outside too right now. I think it's 17 below, but the sky is clear. Great big stars shining. The moon has got that new moon thing starting, where it comes up in the morning instead of later on in the evening, and it's just a nice morning after a storm. So,
yeah, it seems like after you get a big storm, it's maybe not as pleasurable as a rainstorm during the summer, but there is a sort of peace after you get all the snow moved and get your sidewalk open, get the driveway open, and everything's kind of settled down. Get the birds fed again, because all the bird food, that generally gets taken up around our place. But after you get all that stuff done, it does feel kind of peaceful outside, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's nice when things come back into order again and it's a little more normal.
Do the birds at your place eat during the storm, or do they hunker down?
Do what now?
Do the birds eat out of your bird feeders during the storm, or do they hunker down and then hit it afterwards?
No, you usually don't see them. They're actually in the bird houses. It's funny, you don't think a bird would use a birdhouse, but it's probably sparrows and so on, but they go into the starling house and they go into the big bird houses, and they just sit in there and hunker down.
Now, this morning I just came from moving snow. You were moving snow last night and this morning. How much did you get in Carrington?
Well, it's really hard to tell with all the wind and so on, but I'm going to say we got another 6 inches along with, 4 inches that we had on the ground from last week. And so we had 10 inches of snow to blow around. It looks like we had 2 feet with the piles and stuff. There's 4 or 5 foot snow drifts all over the place and that. So I don't know exactly how much we got, but I know we're in the 6 inches area. Sure.
Now, it looked to me like Carrington, at least by the video that you sent me, was a little paradise for truckers last night. Can you tell me about that?
Oh, yeah. After I got my driveway opened up, I had to go and check on my mother-in-law's house and her cat, and I just drove through there because I could see there was all kinds of trucks out there, and there was over 50 trucks sitting in there last night, and it's not a record for Carrington for number of trucks, that's for sure, but it was pretty full of truck drivers, and they're all hunkered down and parked they're just like in a parking lot, just one side by side in there, and they were all waiting out the storm too. So,
yeah, they looked like they were close enough. If they had wanted to play cards out the window, they probably could have.
And they probably did. They probably rolled their electric window down and check on each other every now and then.
Yeah, that's nice after being across the prairie out there and all that open area to finally find a little refuge. I'm sure was awfully nice. I know with myself, got the snow just kind of moved out real quick. Here around the Thief River Falls area, I think we've got about 6 inches, but we had plenty of wind also. But surprisingly, and well, not so surprisingly, actually, they're pretty good about it, but county's already been out. The state's out right now, and the city's been out hitting it since about 2 o'clock this morning. So we're getting ourselves kind of somewhat back to normal,
Yeah, it looks like we had a nice week coming up, so I hope the weatherman is right for the next 10 days because, if you can get through the rest of January now without too much more of this, spring isn't too far off.
35. If we get through January, we got about 40 more sleeps, and it's spring. Of course, in this area, spring is kind of just a term that you see on the calendar. It doesn't really mean so much because we can have some bad storms in March, but generally by then it's pretty warm and you see the snow melt real quick too.
Yeah, I know. it's hard to know what spring is or summer is, but there's one day in there when you can tell it's spring anyway, between winter and summer. And you get that couple days of summer, and then it's fall, and next thing you know, you're back winter.
Now, something we always did on our old Rural Reflections podcast, and I think we should start doing it on the Rural Reflections Call and Dave podcast too. We always had a tractor of the week way back when. I think we should start that again. And since we're both International Harvester guys and Case IH guys and Farmall guys, I think we ought to start out with the classic, maybe the Farmall M. Now, the Farmall M, as I recall, did it have the greatest production run, or was that the H?
I think the H probably had the largest number, but I'm not positive of that.
Yeah, but the Farmall M had an amazing run, and came in a lot of different sizes. Came in the Super M eventually, and you and I both had a lot of experience with the M because we grew up with one on the farm.
Yeah, it was pretty common piece. Actually, at one time that was the only tractor we had was an M, and I still remember that day when Dad had the corn cultivator and the mower and the loader on it all on the same day. And it started out with mowing in the morning and corn cultivating later on, and then the loader was on it, so we could stack hay in the afternoon.
You know, I get a kick out of that because I sometimes am a little bit fussy about just having to switch something over on a 3-point. And the work he did attaching and unattaching those implements, it required a lot of bolts and a heck of a lot of work.
Yeah, it sure did. I don't know how, I know it was different at that time, but, to get that sandwiched in between two milkings during the day, it was a lot of work.
And he was so proud that how fast he could do it, how he could switch out the loader to the corn cultivator. And of course, a lot of the work he was doing, he was propping it up on a 55-gallon drum and maybe using a jack, a handyman jack, and probably a lever, just a piece of steel to lift sometimes over a barrel. And it was pretty amazing he was able to do all those things. But that M was a good old tractor. That was a narrow front.
Yes, it was, and I spent from my 9th birthday on stacking hay with that thing, with a narrow front on it. And I can still hear it just rocking and creaking when you're trying to top off a haystack. I was never so scared in my life when I did the first haystack with that narrow front, and Dad was topping him off, and I was sure I was going to push him off the stack, and he probably was too, I don't know.
Probably.
We got a push-off for it later on, so didn't have to get so high up anyway.
And that hay accumulator it was long fingers on the front of the loader, and then you drive along into the row of hay that had been cut and just kind of let it bunch up on the fingers, right? Yep.
And then you'd go to the other end of the swath and come back at it, or go down a ways, come back at it, and head for the stack.
And it seems like that Farmall M kind of goes hand in hand with the farmhand loader that was on it. That was a pretty unique loader, wasn't it, Dave?
Yeah, it was definitely well, of course, it was made to fit anything, but man, was there a lot of them on an M. It just seemed like the M balanced out well inside of it, and it was probably a little more of a tractor that was in command of the loader instead of having the loader in charge of the tractor, with a smaller H or something on it.
Yeah, that's the truth. And there was no tip cylinders. It was just cables that came down to a hydraulic cylinder that pulled through pulleys to lift it up or let it dump slowly.
Yeah, and slowly wasn't usually in the dumping part of it, because they made some valves that you could do slow dump and slow low and lower with, but most of the time you just pulled the thing and it fell down as fast as it would go. So it was there was very little possibility of spreading gravel evenly or something like that if you were doing that with it. It just kind of dumped it in the pile, and then you had to spread it around afterwards.
All right, that's the Farmall M, our tractor of the week, from 1939 to 1954. Originally cost $2,400. Well worth it. You got anything else for us this week there, Dave?
No, I guess not. We're going to go and finish up the snow removal sometime today, and then I may head to Bismarck today. So.
All right. Well, good luck with everything on the ride to Bismarck, and tell everybody hello.
All right, see you, Grant.
See you later. There is our Rural Reflections Call and Dave podcast for this week on Thief River Falls Radio.